Second time here for this evening here. Right now, we are a day later. It's 1:05 in the morning. It's about typical and normal for me anyway. Yes, so here we have it. I put in the preliminary here for the planetary development as far as its inceptions and concepts there in a previous video. But this video is more pointed. Okay, it's pointed towards the planetary development and the value of the transgenerational projects upon which that I had noted in the first video. To get going here, as we have seen across our world, many divisions among peoples have developed to the point of irreconcilable differences. This is unfortunate, but reconciliation is possible through common needs and goals such as food, housing, healthcare, education, and so on. Nothing new there, except there is room for new approaches to the problems. On the Kardashev scale, I have read some think we may be somewhere at about or around a zero point 0.7 on that scale, having not reached the type 1.0 as of yet. I disagree with that, and it is my assertion that we are at perhaps a whole of 0.25, okay, on the Kardashev scale at our very best, hanging on barely, as it were, right now, because we really aren't planning ahead or doing anything that's going to forward that in any way. We seem to be going backwards instead of forwards, okay? Now, to change this scenario toward a positive track, we need to engage ourselves as a species, and yes, as a whole species, to where there is so much work to go around. Everyone who can get busy is offered to do so in whatever endeavor they may find within the grand slate of projects moving us forward. So everyone will have a part here, and let's just say it would be the reinstitutionalization across the world of a middle class, perhaps a super middle class, unlike anything ever seen before. There's enough wealth out there in the universe to keep us busy for one heck of a long time, millions and millions of years, in fact. And to implement this, grand interdisciplinary teams, okay, so we gather these teams from around the world and all that stuff, and from all the nations of the earth at equal measure. That means every nation has an equal standing here. Devising and crafting initiatives, propositions, proposals of various or competing projects to be discussed, voted on, and ratified by such organizations as the United Nations. Okay, using the UN as the unifying human tool as it was originally intended. So like the building framework seen to the left over here, building framework, note the framework. Nice building, huh? Anyway, yes, to the left, every country shall have a room in each floor. So every country shall have a room, that's like one room in each floor, okay, uh, where each business and enterprise shall occupy niches within that, that room and that floor. Okay, so all the niches within the country shall have like a drawer or a cabinet or something within each room. And the totality of which, okay, is that, the whole of the floor, the entire world, okay, is represented by the entire floor here. So the entire world is, each country has its own room, niches within the country, all of the things, all of the enterprises, businesses, so on and so forth. Yes, they can be interconnected and so on across all of the floor itself. But that is where that is my vision anyway of how the planetary development as a framework begins to develop. Okay, um, so the whole of the floor is the entire world during that period of time uh, and period of space. So um, as time goes by, okay, so here we have time, okay. So as the time goes on, there shall be an exponential increase in that time. That means time will elongate, okay? It will elongate from, say, each floor representing originally maybe 50 to 100 years, and then going from 100 years to 200 years, something like that, and then moving from that to 2 to 400 years, something on that level. Now, I would suspect within, 5 to perhaps 700 years, okay, it would be entirely possible for our world to achieve the type 1 civilization and attain that on the Kardashev scale. So that's what my present belief is, and that's I think being more realistic. So anyway, um, as time goes along, space and so forth, like I said, the space shall also be exponential up here as you see the space. Okay, so not only will we increase in our time in exponentiality in that, that means that time will elongate as things go along, but space will also increase in its girth. We will go from the Earth, if we hit type 1, and moving towards type 2, somewhere out in the future. Okay, space will expand to our entire solar system. Okay, and type 2 as a civilization for us, I hear and have heard some crazy stories. Oh, we can reach type 2 in like 300 years after type 1, or whatever. It's like, that's totally unrealistic. And, even in the span of, several thousand years, I don't think it's quite possible. My thinking is that how you say, the transformation of Mars, as it were, as an ecological system, and all that stuff capable of, maintaining life on Earth, or not life on Earth, but life on Mars, all that stuff, the terraforming of Mars, will take probably in the realm because, there's give and take. God only knows we're going to make mistakes along the way. So, there we are. Now, like trial and error, it will probably take us somewhere between 5 to 10,000 years. That's my estimate. 5 to 10,000 years to get Mars and the terraforming of Mars to the point of sustainability for us humans. Now, that's a nice, even sustainability across the board. Okay, so it will maintain itself, and we will finally have learned how to do that on Mars. Okay, moving forward outwards to the solar system itself, to attain the type 2 civilization, all that, considering the utilization of all the energy of the sun, the solar system shall be, needed for that purpose, all the resources that we can attain from that, will probably take us, in my estimation, is somewhere between 70 to 100,000 years. All right, so that's a realistic scale. Consider how long it took us to build things on Earth. Okay, how long does it take us to build things on Earth? Yeah, I mean, the Great Wall of China, that was a transgeneration. The pyramids were transgenerational. major projects here that take many years, decades, sometimes, the great dams, we have, Hoover Dam, Grand Coulee Dam, all these things, it's a formidable effort. And so there's some real heavy lifting involved. So if we are going to have to go out into the solar system and do a type 2 civilization, and craft the capabilities and have all of the resources and attain those resources from the planets, and therefore from everything from the asteroid belt, perhaps even going out to the Kuiper belt, and bringing back the resources and so on needed. Because if we are going to do anything even near something like the Dyson sphere, we are going to have to we are going to have to do some very heavy lifting, and it's going to go on for a long time. And so that's why I put the time span out there to some 70 to 100,000 years, because I think that's being realistic. Now, that's kind of my take on the on this particular slide, and giving you a sort of generalized view as to how long it's going to take us. But in the process, we will learn how to work together as a species, unlike anything that we have ever done before. We will all benefit by it. Wealth will become more, equalized across the board as we go on, because as we continue on now, the moon itself starts at, upwards into the hundreds of trillions of dollars of physical economic procurement there, you know, asteroids and so on. Some asteroids can resolve all of our national debt and the debt of the entire world if we just harvest the resources from some asteroids out there that I mean, there's so much out there. It's just unbelievable. So, I'm a big believer in both, the national or the nation states aspect of, guiding us towards, space and commercial space development. However, I think commercial space, as it were, uh, as an individual outfits, I think individual companies can find and do have a niche to play, like we see with SpaceX or, Blue Origin or some of these others that are coming along. And, they do have a niche to play here amongst the grand scheme, but, you know, we still have a long way to go. And it's going to take the concerted effort of all the nation states on the world, to really pull ourselves off, the earth and take the energy load off the earth. However, the first thing we have to do is to literally concentrate on ourselves, both socially and economically and all of that, in a way that we are not destructive as we seem to be at the present time. So I really hope that we can go forward in peace and prosperity and development as a species, and hopefully we will get to type 1 and ultimately reaching ourselves to type 2, ultimately reaching out to the stars, So I think we can do this, but, we have to change our modalities upon which that we think and do and act and so on like that. And that's going to be a really hard road, the way things are right now. So, but ideas like this is why I'm putting it out there. This is an idea, okay? It's a theory, it's a concept, but we need more of them. We need lots of people coming out with all kinds of projects, all kinds of ideas and concepts to change our world. It's not one thing to just say what the problems are. We all know what the problems are. However, right now, we need solutions. We need myriads of solutions to come up on the table. We have to flood the zone with solutions. Okay, people? It's not a deal of talking the problems anymore. It's the deal of flooding the zones with solutions, real life, viable, tangible, solutions that will affect and enhance the life of all people everywhere on our planet. That's where we need to go. We need to be solution based. We need to have project. We need to do all of these things, like concepts galore, and start talking concepts and solutions rather than talking projects out there on the blogospheres, news spheres, and every sphere. Okay, people, so you have a good night, have a good time, peace, goodwill to all men, and I'll catch you on the next time. So be at peace and love and all.